In this session, what we want to discuss is the issues pertaining to records management. So when we talk about records, what are we talking about? This is information which an organization is keeping within its space. So it could be information that the organization is holding at its head office, information that is the organization is holding at its branches, satellite offices, among other areas. So I think this kind of information is held in form of one electronic, but also sometimes it's in manual form. So I'll give example for the electronic. There tend to be a lot of communications between staff members within the organization. Could be communications between staff and the outside stakeholders. Could be salespeople, creditors, and banks, and among other stakeholders. So there's a lot of communication. So whenever this kind of communication is happening, you might find that it could be through emails, for example. Yeah. So maybe I have, as a director, for example, I have a customized email. For example, my company is Chisomo Metal Center. So I would say CMC at Chisomo Metal Center .mw, for example. So if I've got such kind of an email, you might find that my name is Emmanuel Shinovi. So it will be Echinovi at cmc.mw. So it will be Echinovi at cmc.mw, for example. Yeah. So you find that a lot of people are going to be sending me a lot of information. But once I've left the organization, you might find that there is someone who can come and join the organization and be in my office or be on my position, might not be able to use such kind of email. Yeah, sometimes we can argue to say no, it's a company email and it can be accessed by other people, but practically it's sometimes difficult for you to give an email of someone to say, would this email is what your predecessor was using, so you can be using it. Yet it's in the name of that particular person who left. So it's always problematic. Yeah. So personalized email, sometimes they don't serve the purpose, especially when people have left the organization. So you might find there's a lot of communication in the inbox. There are a lot of documents and all that, but the one who has come in, who has just joined, the successor, cannot have such kind of emails. And maybe that's what I sometimes encourage organizations to say, whenever we're training organizations issues pertaining to records management, whenever I'm going somewhere to train them, I always tell them to say it's important sometimes to use position names. For example, if I'm the executive director, I should use ed at cmc.mw, because the moment I've left the office, because this email is for official communication. Once I've left the office, another ED who comes in would be able to use the same email, for example, and be able to track whatever communications have been happening before you, and you don't look new to the whole issue. But now maybe it's a new contract and you're asking someone to say, no, can you send me back the information? Yeah. So it looks awkward. Yeah. So what is important for us to appreciate is to say emails are organization assets or organization property. So we should be able to use them as if we know what they are organization property. So once you have a customized email or an email that has been clearly depicting a position, it's easier to hand over such kind of an email to someone compared to this kind of emails which uses initials of someone, for example. Yeah. So it's always a challenge whenever you're left the person for another person to use such kind of an email. And also at the same time, I think email, there is a lot of etiquette which you should be able to appreciate. Whenever you're sending an email, there is always to, and there is the CC and also BCC. What we should be able to appreciate is the CC. It implies to say that one is in copy. We say carbon copy. So you are giving a copy to that one. You are not expecting that someone who is in a copy to respond to the email. And also at the same time, BCC is someone whom you send an email to, but you don't want the one whom the email was intended for. You're just giving a copy to this one, but it's like a blind copy. So you're just sending a blind copy to this one, but the recipient of that email should not know that you have sent a blind copy to this particular person. Okay, I don't know whatever this one that can be used, but the email gives an option that you can use that, and people do use that. For example, you're sending some information to the Director of Finance, but you can put BCC to the HR director, for example. For whatever reason, I don't know, but you can be able, there are situations that can determine you to do that. So that's how we should be able to use this kind of email. And also, this kind of information can be held in the laptop. You can create folders, for example. You can have a folder for procurement, a folder for human resource, a folder for finance, a folder for administration. So what is important for us to say, okay, you are the director of administration and finance, for example. So you might need to have all these different folders. This is a folder for finance. And in the finance folder, you might need even to have a finance file for 2019, finance file for 2020, finance file for 2021, finance file for 2022. And within those files, 2022, 2019, 2018, you might still need to have months. This is a file for January. This is a file for February. This is a file. So you are depicting all the activities that happened in that particular month, in that particular year. And also within those January, February folders, you might need to have also specific issues, recruitment. These are recruitments that were done in January 2019. These are recruitments that were done in February. These are recruitments that were done in December. And also at the same time, you might need also to have within the folders. So you can have different folders, for example, for procurement, for transport, for maintenance, for administration, for finance, for ICT. Yeah, you can have different folders with different years and also different months depicting the actual things that happened. So when you are in that month, you have a folder specific for such kind of issues. At first you create the big folders, and now you go into the specific issue. So when you have created a memo, whatever you have received a document, you save it in that specific folder for easy tracing. So it means your computer is well organized. So this is not the only way that you can hold the electronic record. You can also have softwares which can be able to manage your record. So those folders could be now in the software, or you can be able to have within the software, you can be having tabs which are depicting each and every. For example, if you go to the software, you can have an icon for recruitment, for training, for whatever, and also within those training whatever icons would be also other things, shortlisting, interviews, offer letters, and all that, something like that. It means you have organized your information. So I think in the book, A Guide to Human Resource Management Practice, I was also talking about labor statistics. You just want to know, for example, how many employees have left the organization, how many employees left the organizations in 2019, how many employees are on probation. You can be able to now, just by a click of a button, you're able to know how many employees are within the organization, how many employees left the organization, how many employees are on probation, how many employees retired. What were the reasons for this person, for these people to leave? So if you have got such kind of software, you can be able to do that. Even in the computer, you can also be able to create the folders and be able to manage such kind of information, to say these are the resignations. What are the reasons for each and every resignation? So you have a resignation letter attached, and also you have what? The exit form, the employee exit form, which can be scanned, and you will be able to align it or put it in that particular folder. So you are able to know even the reasons for such kind of why this person had to leave the organization. So I think what we need to appreciate is Récords management is about knowing what you have, where you have it, and how long you have to keep it. So it's very, very important for us to appreciate, to say, whenever you're managing your records, you should be able to know where is your record. Do you know all the records that you have within the organization? Where you have such kind of a record, for your argument's sake. You should be able to know where exactly do you have, and how can you access such kind of a record within the organization, and who can have access to such kind of a record. That's very, very important within the organization. And at the same time, now when you come to the manual records, what is also important for us to appreciate, and also maybe before I come to the manual records, do you have a backup for your records, for example? Yeah, you should be able to save it online. You should be able to save it in different ways that you can be. Even if you lose the laptop, you're able to access your files and all documentation. Even if it's a software, you go to another laptop, you're able to enter into the software and be able to do your work regardless. Not like because you have lost the laptop, then you have lost everything. So do you do some backups of your information in the laptop, for example? Yeah. So it's very, very important for you to also to know that. And also when it comes now to the manual records, what we need to appreciate now is to say there is need for you to have a filing index. This is now whereby you have a classified records management system, which is now to give like having a file for each and every activity that is happening within the organizations. Under the electronic records, we are discussing issues. Maybe you can have folders for recruitment and all that. So here you have files. In terms of instead of the folders, you have file. This is now a folder for recruitment. This is a folder for procurement of goods. This is a folder for procurement of services. This is a folder for procurement of works. This is a folder for, among other things. But within also procurement of goods or goods of services, you might also need procurement, let's say, of stationery, office world, procurement of stationery, glary, whatever name you have. That's also what is very, very important for us to appreciate. So it's also very, very important for us to appreciate, to say you cannot just do away with the manual records. Sometimes you can be sending your documentation through the software, through the emails and all that, but sometimes you may need to print and keep on file. It's also very, very important sometimes, so you should be able to keep on file. And that's now the manual records we're talking about. And whenever you have the filing index would have the file name should be able to depict the functions, the activity, the transactions which each and every department is undertaking. So you might have a department for procurement, a department for administration, a department for human resource, a department for finance, a department for operations, a department for ICT. So each and every department will have its own specific files. And also each and every file now, depending on the activity, it will be assigned a name and a unique reference number. For example, at Chisomo Metal Center, you can have like Chisomo CMC as the name of the company, CMC stroke admin stroke sales stroke 1. It means this file is number 1. But also you can have Chisomo CMC stroke admin stroke sales stroke debtors stroke 2. It means debtors is file number 2. You can go on like that. So you can create a file for each and every activity that you do within the organizations. And now whenever you are communicating, you'll be using this particular file to go through different offices. So you're able to know whatever happened 2 months ago, what kind of sales you made 2 months ago, maybe the sales report for last month, the sales report, weekly sales reports for each week. You're able to go through the file and be able to appreciate it. So all this documentation is under one file. So you open the file has got a date of opening and also a closing date. Because when you open, then you start putting in the documentation. You start putting in the documentation up until it's full. When you see when it's full, you close it. You also have a closing date to say this file was closed on such a date, and you open another one. The date you are closing, you also open the following day or the same day. You can open a new file. Then you number one. That one is number 1. This one maybe is number 2. So you also document the information in the same order: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it comes out clearly, beautiful. Yeah. And one we need to appreciate is to say you can have a proper document which has all the filing index. Now is a list of all the files that you have within your organization in the different departments aligned with its proper reference number. So you have files for each and every department within the organization. And whenever it's not like it's a moving thing. It's not like once you have created it, you close it, and it's good. When you have additional activities, you can also be adding on each and every department files. But you might need to have this kind of a master file which has to be managed centrally, or the filing index which has to be managed centrally. And now, whatever you'll be pressing in those files are either the memos, the letters that are happening. So for a memo, for example, this is for a memorandum, is an internal communication. It's official communication of a business within the organization. So that's what we need also to appreciate. Yeah. So when you talk about a memo, we are talking about official communication within the organization. So a memo is not supposed to go outside the organization. Even leaking some kind of memos, letters within that's where you go. Nowadays we see a lot of people salary increments which are intending it's an internal communication, but people are segregating outside the general public. That shows that people are lacking information, are lacking the knowledge, because they're supposed to have some kind of integrity when it comes to handling of information of the organization. One, there's of course we know there's Access to Information Act, but not all information should be sent to the general public. And also at the same time, some people can have such kind of information upon request. And there is there also designated offices which have to release such kind of office information. That's why you find a lot of organizations would have publications officers, PROs, communication officers, just to ensure that all the communication that is coming out of the organization is going through such kind of people. So that's what is also very, very important for us to appreciate. And also that's why it's important to have an oath of secrecy, for example, to say people have to sign an oath of secrecy that they are abiding not to divulge any information that is have to go with the general public. But also at the same time, what we need to place on the notice board matters. To say what kind of information can we place on a notice board. Not all information should be. Some information could be communicated individually to each and every employee than to send on a notice board. That's why issues like the mail message, people use the mail message to send communication. The same communication can be sent to different people through the mail message, for example. Yeah, if you want to communicate, you can send individual letters to all the employees. I don't think someone would be naive to send his or her letter, yeah, to the social media, but because they do that this is a general communication. But others will say, no, I have to sign so many letters. No, you can use the mail message and you are done within a minute or within 2 minutes. You are done. Yeah. So it's also about how we use. So what should be on a memo? Yeah, a memo should have information like from, through, yeah, from where the memo is coming from to where it is going through. Sometimes through is used to any, it's going through an office. Yeah. So, for example, you want to write a letter to the CEO, but this letter, it has to pass through your director. So you have got the director of finance. So you are a manager, and you are saying, no, I'm writing from Chanchan account finance manager through director of finance to CEO. So he has to sign. You have to say the dot there, the director of finance has to sign. So you have a from, through, to, the date the memo has been requested, the subject of the issue, and also the body of the issue, and also you should put your name there, the signature, and also the folio number. Yeah. So for example, you put in a file, the folio number is a number that you can put on a memo that is in a file, or a letter that is in the file. For example, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, depending on the number. So maybe this memo you're putting in the file is, you see, the last memo in that file is 12. So if you put a memo there, you say 13, because that is coming after 12. So you put it 13. on the cover of the file, there is what we call the file direction. You put up the file direction form. So the file direction form will indicate where the mail is going. So that file is going. So you say you have addressed to the Director of Finance. So you go there, directions, you have initials, maybe date and time. So you say, okay, folio number. Yeah, so you say direction, Director of Finance, folio. You want to see what folio number should that director be acting. So you are looking for 13. So you say 13. Yeah. Then the time that you are signing that. So you are bringing it out at 10:30. Once the DOF has received, you have to say, I'm also releasing this maybe at 10:40, for example. Yeah. So it also go to the CO, and once the CO has so the DOF will sign under the through. And now you find that when he has signed under the through, the memo, maybe you'll go to the CO. The CO will act. And now within the CO, there could be, on the memo could be space where you should be able to assess, before approving maybe the request, would ask the DOF, for example, 1. That's now the minute. He will minute on the, so he had indicated 13, but now, because he has put 1, so you say 13 on the filing direction, you will indicate 13, 1, Roman numeral 1, yeah? So you say DOF, because he has put a comment under 1 for the DOF to act. And if the DOF says, no, I think this issue I can attend it to, he will do 2, CO. And he will explain. So you also come back to the file direction and indicate CO2. It means he is asking the CO to do that. If the CO has approved, you say 3 approved. Maybe it has to go to accountant. So you say accountant, for the accountant to proceed to pay. So within the memo, there's also some information which is very, very important for us to consider. For example, there is the issue of PP. Yeah, PP. It means you are signing against someone's position and name. So when you are putting up, for example, a letter, yeah, maybe a memo cannot be a good example. Yeah, because a memo down there, when you put your name, sometimes you don't put your position because already the position is above there. Yeah, from you have already put your position. But for a letter, for example, yeah, so you are signing on behalf of the CO, but you put your name. So assuming I'm the CO, Managenent-Filing. So yourself, you are Írecords Banda. So what is going to happen is you are saying CO Managenent-Filing, you sign against my name, but you put your signature and you say PP. It means you are signing on behalf of me. But it's assumed that I have instructed you to do that. You will not do that on your own. I have to ask you. Maybe I'm not around and all that, but people have to see that the CEO is the one who was supposed to sign this. And also, there is an element of for. For sometimes is used when Írecords Banda is signing on behalf of the CEO or for the CEO. So he will put the name of the CEO, he put the position of the CEO, he put her name, and she also put her signature, and will say for. So there is difference between PP and for. PP, he will use the name of the CEO and she will sign. But for, he will put his name, her name, and she will sign. That's the difference. And also within the memo or letter, the CC. CC sometimes is used. I think you also saw it when we were discussing issues of the email. Yeah, CC is a carbon copy. You are giving a copy to these people. So what you need to do is, when the memo, the letter or the memo has been signed, the secretary or anyone else, or even yourself, you make photocopy of the document. So you give copies to those other offices. So you're giving a carbon copy to CC. It means carbon copy. You're giving a carbon copy to those other staff members who are supposed to act on that particular issue, or who have to know of that particular issue. For example, you have dismissed an employee. You might wish to inform other staff members, like the finance, the ICT. Yeah, so maybe they have to remove some lines to the employee. So you can be able to give CC to that kind of people, so that they're able to know. That's what is very, very important for us to appreciate. Likewise, the BCC, I've also discussed to say it's a blind copy that you give to other people, but you don't want the recipient of that letter to know that you're also giving that letter to someone else. That's what is very, very important for us to appreciate. So whenever even we are writing, also there's also sincerely, faithfully, these are English words, but when you are using sincerely, it means you have addressed the person using his name, full name, for example. Yeah, Dear Andrew Banda. Yeah, so you put yours sincerely, Emmanuel Chinovi. You put your signature, but maybe you have put Dear Sir, Madam. Yeah, it's also important for you to indicate, to say yours faithfully, because you don't know the officer whom you are sending the letter to. Or you know, but you have chosen to use the Dear Sir, Madam. But if you have addressed it as a person, then you should be able to use it yours sincerely. At the same time, also, one of the mistakes that we do in writing letters or whatever, sometimes we are fond of Dear Sir. Yet, even application letter for employment, Dear Sir, yet the CEO there, or the managing director there, or the HR director there, or the HR manager there, is not what? A sir, is a madam. So sometimes it's important just to be etiquette, to use etiquette, say Dear Sir, stroke madam. But if you know for sure, then you can choose to say Dear Madam, because you know that I know this office, the CEO of this company is a madam. So you can put Dear Madam. That's what is also very, very important for us to appreciate. And as I was saying, you can have a minute within the to say one, the CEO can put a minute, two, the can put a minute on that particular memo, and on the file direction form, you also be able to indicate such kind of information. Very, very important for us to appreciate. And now, when you have this file, it reaches a point that you are supposed to keep it in the file register or in the filing cabinet. So you're supposed to put it in the filing cabinet. And if it's properly documented, for example, you have CMC stroke admin stroke sales 1 sales, CMC stroke admin stroke debtors or getters 2. So it means the number 1 will be first in the file, in the filing cabinet. Then the other one will be number 2. So it means on the each level of the file, yeah, they have got drawers, yeah. So on each drawer you have a summary of the files that are in there. So you have number 1, this whether there are 10, you indicate the file names of those files which are and the file numbers. So one will say, okay, at first there's this one, secondly there's this one. If I'm looking for this, just checking on the file in cabinet for people to know the file I'm looking for is in this particular folder, in this particular in this particular drawer. So it's very, very important. And also at the same time, you should have a date you have opened the file, and also the date you have closed the file. Very, very important. Because once you have closed such kind of a file, you might need to take it to an archive room, for example. You might need to have, which also has to be documented, and you have to have proper shelves, well numbered, classified accordingly, to say here we're putting issues related to recruitment, here we're putting issues of, and these recruitments are for these years, and these recruitments are for these years. These are dismissals, and these dismissals are for the years, and you're able to track. Because your office will not have a lot of information. You can put it at the archive room within your organization, and you only have the latest information within your organization. That's also very, very important for us to appreciate. And also one thing we should be able to appreciate is to say the records might need to have a period. For how long are you going to keep the records? For example, recruitment files, for how long are we supposed to keep them? Cash books, for how long are we supposed to keep them? Vouchers, for how long are we supposed to keep them? So within you're going to be able to title these things, maybe you might need to keep them for life. So you might need to have special files where you need to keep the title deeds. You might need to have special files, for example, loans and advances. You might need to have levy forms. You might need to have special ICT procurements. You might need to have a special file, but these files, maybe they are still in progress. So you need to have a retention period for each and every file. This file, maybe we need to preserve. It means you need to have it for life. This file maybe for 10 years. This file, this kind of information, you might need to have it for maybe for 7 years or for 8 years. This file, we might need to have it. This kind of information we must destroy instantly. For example, application letters. You might find there are a lot of application letters, and 1,000 application letters. We have like the level files, 50 of them for one position, and also another set 50. You cannot be keeping all those application letters. You can only keep maybe the ones who are shortlisted, for example. But for how long are you supposed to keep the level files? So you can agree as an organization to say maybe this kind of period. Others will say there are certain things in for example, in accounting, they will say once the documents have been audited, they have to be destroyed, for example, or they have to be archived, for example. So such kind of information is also very, very important for an organization to have. So your records management policy would also guide on how long you should be able to keep your file, for example. So that's what is very, very important for us to appreciate. So what I'm trying to say here is to say you should be able to have proper mechanisms and methods and ways of how you are going to manage your electronic records, your manual records, for the benefit of the organizations. Which records do you need now? Which records do you need in the future? When did we do this? You should be able to have it on a record. And also how you organize your archive room, you should be able to do that archive room. So I'll tell you one thing, like Change Consult Group. We are an organization that can be able to do that for you. We can be able to organize such kind of records for you. And we'll be able to do that for you. And perfect. We can be able to do that perfectly for you, to ensure that you have all the records for your organization. You have all the documentation for your organization. Whether the records are everywhere within your organization, we can be able to organize your office and be able to do everything for you. Thanks for watching this video.